Never thought I'd be saying this in August with my good friend John Walton talking about Stanley Cup playoff hockey. And John, we've already had postseason, so to speak, the round-robin tournament for playoff seeding. The Capitals could have been the top seed, have to settle for the third seed in the first-round meeting with the Islanders. Should we be concerned that the Capitals did not achieve all they could in those three round-robin games? Or what should we take from those?
I don't think that you take a whole lot of good or bad from it, Dave, honestly, only because the round robin was a glorified preseason. And it's easy to say that when you finish third. But the Capitals were the third place team in the regular season, so they did not go up, but they didn't go down either. And it's hard to manufacture that kind of intensity when other teams have to play for their lives in a best of five and every game means so much. It's a little bit of an apples and oranges kind of thing. The Boston Bruins were the number one team in the league during the regular season, and they finished lower than Washington did. I would say about the Bruins the same as I do the Caps. I don't think it means a whole lot until you get to game one. When you're in a best of seven series, that's when the fun starts. It's the playoffs now. It was the best the NHL could come up with. For sure, you can't not play for 2 weeks and have the other team playing in a playoff series, but it was almost kind of like a tune-up and getting ready kind of feel, almost a preseason kind of feel. That's over now, and the Caps start moving forward. I wouldn't be worried at all.
It's obviously a sexy matchup if you look at Barry Trotz, the former Caps coach, his former assistant, Todd Reirden, but is there also some substance behind that headline? Because obviously the two work very closely together, and will that impact this playoff series?
Well, when you work together for 4 years, I mean, think about, your coworkers. If somebody leaves to go somewhere else, you still know what they're all about if you spend 4 years working with them every day, and that's what these two men have going into this playoff series. The Caps and Islanders haven't met since 2015. There are some characters on the ice that were a little bit of the villain role, if you will, before in 2015. Tom Wilson certainly was. That was really his first taste of getting under Islander fan skin. Bit of a different player, bit of a different role these days. But Raquel Clutterbuck and Casey Cizikas on the other side. There's some familiar names from 5 years ago, but I think a lot of that focus is going to be on the coaches, whether they want it or not. It's going to be the storyline because Barry Trotz won a Stanley Cup here in 2018. Todd Reirden's the guy that took over for him. Todd didn't get out of the first round last year. There's pressure on him. I think that's absolutely true. But I think when you've got that challenge on the other side for the players that certainly know Trotzy very well, and Lane Lambert and Mitch Korn too, for that matter, I think it's a good thing for the Caps. I think it elevates. I think it starts to get that playoff juice right away, especially when you don't have the fans in the stands.
What do you think will make the difference in the series? Is it too simple to say the Capitals' big guns against the stingy defense of the Islanders? Not that the Capitals don't want to be responsible on defense, or how do you see it?
The Caps offense is probably going to dictate a lot of this. If the stopping of the Caps offense by their shutdown line, whether it be the Clutterbuck, Cizikas, Martin line, as far as the forwards are concerned, there's a little bit on the Islanders D because Johnny Boychuk, who would normally be in that role, he got hurt in the first round. His status is a little bit uncertain. They think he's going to play, but Andy Green, who had played with the Devils, came over at the deadline. He did a great job with Nick Leddy. So they may be tasked with shutting down Alex Ovechkin and Jacob Vrana and Evgeny Kuznetsov and everyone, TJ Oshie, in the top six. If the top six are scoring goals, Dave, the Caps win this series in 5 or 6. This is not going to be a sweep situation. This is a very good matchup. The Islanders are going to win at least a couple of games, and the Islanders could easily win this series if the Caps aren't careful. It is that close in my mind, only because you've got the great equalizer of the bubble and the fans and not being there, and the energy that you would normally have in Chinatown or on Long Island for this series you will not have. But it's a great matchup, and I think you're going to see that caliber of hockey kick up. As long as the Caps are scoring goals, if it's a 3-2, 4-3 kind of game, the Islanders are not a team equipped to be able to come back from big deficits. They just don't have the offensive firepower, but they're very responsible defensively. Former Capital goaltender Semyon Varlamov is expected to get the start in game one. And, that's what if they shut the Caps down offensively, the Islanders can easily win this series. But the Caps offense carries the day, they'll be fine.
In this playoffs now, it's the playoffs. You probably expect a different gear from Alex Ovechkin from what we saw in the round-robin tournament. Or maybe having said that, is the fact that the window is open for this team that won in 2018. They're certainly aware that they only have a certain amount of time to really capitalize on this group of players. How much is that on their mind, and how much will that play a role in this series?
Well, I think the experience is the big thing of what you speak of, Dave. You still have a lot of the team, the vast majority of the team that won a Stanley Cup in 2018. In fact, entering the Stanley Cup playoffs, only the St. Louis Blues, who of course won last year, have more players that have won a Stanley Cup on their roster than Washington does. So experience matters, no question. For Alex Ovechkin specifically, even early in his career when the Capitals weren't having that playoff success, he almost always did. He is a playoff performer. His numbers will put the record book as far as the Capitals are concerned. No one's ever going to touch his playoff records, just as they won't touch them in the regular season. He's going to score his goals in this series. The question is, who else will? Jacob Braun was real quiet in the round robin. He's got to be able to perform at that 25-goal pace he had in the regular season. Evgeny Kuznetsov played his absolute best hockey of his career in the 2018 postseason. He must reach that level again, or the Caps become an easier team to defend. And here's a problem early in the series, Dave. You probably won't have Lars Eller in game one. You might, but it seems that there's at least a chance because of his return to Washington and reacclimating to the bubble after the birth of his second child. He may not be available. John Carlson is in all likelihood going to be a decision right before puck drop for game one. He missed the entire round robin due to injury. So the Caps aren't 100% necessarily going into game one, but they should be, hopefully, before too long into the series. What you don't want to have happen is have the Islanders come up and bite you early, and then you're fighting upstream the rest of the series. That makes, to me, game one and game two very important. Yes, technically they're home games for Washington too, but more than that, when you don't have all of your pieces on the table, you still got to find a way to answer. Otherwise, the Islanders get an early jump.
As always, John, we appreciate the time, and good morning, good afternoon, and good night. We'll look forward to that.
And good night to you too, sir. Thank you.